Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the Apostle of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the Akim tuning into these videos and preaching in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Alright, so, the topic of this video is going to be about, I got the precept right here. I'll go ahead and read it. This is 1 Corinthians 14 and 32. It says, and the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets. And this is pretty much, it's twofold, because it's saying, through reincarnation, because that's pretty much what this lesson is going to be about, about how reincarnation is in the Bible, and, the spirit of the prophets, they're going to do what the spirit of the prophets do. So going to come back to reincarnation and fill their slot of what they're pretty much made to do, is to be a prophet for this ministry, for Yahweh Shai. All right, so as I said, in 1 Corinthians 14 and 32, it says, and the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets. So it's pretty much is speaking about the remnant, the elect. Because pretty much those people, that are going to be delivered from this coming destruction are those same spirits. How like it says in the book of Kings that there's 7,000 who didn't bow to Baal. And Elijah was one of those people who pretty much didn't bow down to Baal. Because all those spirits, very likely, they're already sealed. How Apostle Tahari he always says that the elect has already been sealed. And I personally believe that as well. But very most likely also, those people who are sealed, through reincarnation that didn't bow to Baal, they're here in Great Millstone, or they're in other congregations, preaching, because the spirit of the prophet, it's pretty much, it's going to be hard for them not to, like it's literally impossible. Like if you look at Jonah, he's a spirit of a prophet. He tried to not preach and prophesy against Nineveh, and look what happened. Pretty much destiny pushed him to that place. He got swallowed up by the fish. He couldn't help it. He couldn't help running away from what he was meant to do. And I got a bunch of precepts to pretty much prove that reincarnation is a factual thing, and it's pretty much written in the scriptures in a way that people who have ears to hear can hear this and understand it. If you got the eyesight to see this, it's clear as day. He who have ears, let him hear. But so this is Revelation 10 and 11, and it says, this is speaking about John the Revelator. It says, and he said unto me, thou must prophesy again before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. So as a record, as far as we know, John the Revelator did not leave that island of Patmos. He most likely died there. And so when he saw these revelations, pretty much they were saying, that he was going to preach these revelations. And if you look around the world, I'm going to be nice. There's some, so-called, Christian Catholic churches or whatever, they preach about the book of Revelation, but they got a zeal, but not according to knowledge, because most likely John the Revelator is in Great Millstone. If he's not, then he's got to be in what the world deems so-called Black Hebrew Israelite. Because it's pretty much prophetic that, he was told that he was going to prophesy about these things to many people, many nations, and tongues and kings. And, Donald Trump, as you've been listening to his speeches, he's getting briefings about us, or whoever of these prophets, of the spirits of the prophets are. Most likely, he's got the heads of all these camps, that he deems sincere and are, these guys are the men of the Lord, type of deal, and he knows about them, and they hear us. He says, don't listen to the prophets of doom. Well, John the Revelator's spirit, whoever he is through the reincarnation in today's days, he's a prophet of doom. And, he came back into his fold and preached and prophesied as it was prophesied that he was going to do. All right, so, like I said, the spirits of the prophets are subject unto prophecy. And this is 2nd Ezra 16 and 17. And this is speaking about Ezra. He was pretty much seeing these visions of the end times. Pretty much the same thing that what John the Revelator saw, but pretty much in a different angle. But pretty much it was the same thing. Yahweh Shai's return and the judgment of this wicked, world. So it's 2nd Ezra 16 and 17. This is after he saw all of these prophetic visions of the nuclear missiles. It says, woe is me, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? So he saw pretty much, all these turmoils, like what we're dealing with right now, the coronavirus, rumors of war, of World War III with Soleimani, whatever his name is, he got killed recently, all these homeless people. He pretty much saw all these things, and he saw the thermonuclear missiles. And pretty much it was a very shocking vision that he was scared, which is why he was saying, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? Because there was more to this vision, is that Yahweh Shai was going to be the one who's going to deliver him. But pretty much he knew that he was going to have to go through this. These prophecies were for thousands of years in the future, yet he knew that he was going to go through them. At the beginning of sorrows, great mourning. So he knew pretty much. But he was asking that question: is who will deliver me in those days? And that person is going to be Yahweh Shai. And this is the easiest one to prove that reincarnation is in the Bible. This is Malachi 4 verse 5. It says, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great dreadful day of the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. So Malachi was pretty much saying that Elijah the prophet, the spirit of Elijah, because the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets. He wasn't going to come back and be born as an Edomite. He was going to come back and be born as, pretty much, John the Baptist, or Abba Bivens, who we all believe is that same spirit, Elijah the prophet. So it says, verse 6, and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. So the exact person Elijah never, set foot on earth again. That person was dead, but his spirit, because you can't really destroy his spirit, is a spirit of a prophet and is subject unto a prophet. So when he came back on the scene to pretty much announce the coming of the Messiah, Yahweh Shai, when he was back 2,000 years ago, is that was this prophecy being fulfilled. Because John the Baptist was that person, that spirit, that same spirit, that's subject unto the prophets. And this is just more proof because, like let's say if you were Elijah the prophet in your past life, John the Revelator, John the Baptist, so forth and so forth. All these great men, Peter, Paul. A lot of people say Apostle Tahar is Paul. But see, the thing is with reincarnation is we don't necessarily know unless the Spirit reveals it to us who these people are. So this is Jeremiah 20 verse 9. It says, then I said, I will not make mention of him, nor speak any more in his name. This is Jeremiah who's pretty much speaking how he didn't want to preach and prophesy. It says, but his word was in my heart as a burning fire, shut up in my bones, and I was weary with forbearing, and I could not stay. So pretty much, even though he wanted to stop, because he was getting a lot of flank from the Israelites when he was preaching and prophesying to them, he didn't want to do that anymore. But it was in his spirit, because Jeremiah is a spirit of a prophet, and that spirit is subject to be a prophet. He didn't come back to be, a 2/3 Jake, pretty much. Because it was just in his spirit to preach and prophesy. He couldn't help it. And so this is Isaiah 62, verse 6. And it says, I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem. So when it's speaking about these watchmen being set on the walls, it was talking about the prophets, because those are the men, in the spiritual temple right now, being the watchmen of Yahweh Shai. We're the ones watching for these prophecies, just as what the spirits of the prophets would be doing in these days, the end days. So it says, I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day or night. Why won't they never hold their peace day or night? This is the same thing as what Jeremiah was going through. So even if they wanted to, it's going to resonate and burn so much in your spirit to go out there and preach and prophesy. Pretty much that never quit spirit. Because like one thing too is in Great Millstone, people have been suspended, people have been kicked out. But if you're slotted for salvation, just being a member of Great Millstone isn't what's going to save you. It's being a member of Great Millstone, and then proving yourself, proving your works that you're of a man of the Lord. So it's a little thing there too. I know brothers who have been kicked out and they have gotten back into the fold. It's just their personal story or what have you. But it says, ye that make mention of the Lord, keep not silence. Because when you get into this ministry, once you wake up, pretty much you can't quit. You can't quit at all. So it's pretty much that's what all these prophets were going through. John the Revelator, Jeremiah specifically, Noah. Not Noah. Jonah. There was no way that you could quit. It's literally impossible to make the spirit of a prophet not be a prophet. That was what they were designed to do. And so verse 7 says, and give him no rest till he establish and till he make Jerusalem a praise in the earth. And the prophets, the men of the Lord, we're doing that. We're sighing, crying for the abominations done on the earth. Waiting for this devil, to get out of power. So I'm speaking about reincarnation and how the prophets are coming back in the forefront. Doing pretty much what they were doing in the past, not bowing the knee to Baal. I wanted to speak on Patton. This General Patton from World War II. A very famous man. He made this poem, and I'm sure a lot of people are aware of it. The poem is called "Through a Glass Darkly," and the poem is pretty much that General Patton, he literally believes that he lived many lives as like a high-ranking general in previous wars. And I'm actually going to go ahead and play the clip. It's only 2 minutes long. It isn't. That's why I got the whole thing, because I highlighted the main part, which was what I was going to speak on. I'm going to go ahead and play the clip.
Hold it. Turn right here.
Sir, the battlefield is straight ahead.
Please don't argue with me, Sergeant. I can smell a battlefield.
He was out here just yesterday, George.
It's over there. Turn right, damn it. It was here. The battlefield was here. The Carthaginians defending the city were attacked by 3 Roman legions. The Carthaginians were proud and brave, but they couldn't hold. They were massacred. Arab women stripped them of their tunics and their swords and lances. The soldiers lay naked in the sun. 2,000 years ago. I was here. You don't believe me, do you, Brad? You know what the poet said? Through the travail of ages, midst the pomp and toils of war, have I fought and strove and perished countless times upon the star. As if through a glass and darkly, the age-old strife I see, where I fought in many guises, many names, but always me.
Yeah, so right here, General Patton is pretty much, he's resonating to the fact that, he feels like his spirit was always him, but while he was going through all these lifestyles, and like, how it's 1 Corinthians 14:32, it says, and the spirit of the prophets, Israelites are subject to the prophets. It's a twofold, for all these other heathens, like specifically in Edomite right here, because, General Patton's an Edomite.
You know who the poet was? Me.
Yeah. So, anyways, speaking about Elijah, he was pretty much prophesied to come back into the fold, as John the Baptist, and people didn't believe, is that John the Baptist, this and that. Then Yahweh Shai pretty much revealed it to everybody that that was John the Baptist, because you got spirits of the prophets, but then you also got spirits of the Edomites, spirits of the heathens, and this Edomite in particular, and I personally, I don't know, because that it wasn't revealed to me that this was proved, that this is the exact spirit that I'm about to bring up in Revelation 1-7, because people say that Apostle Tahar is Paul, but we don't know that 100%. He may have similarities, but then at the end of the day, we won't find that out until the kingdom, but until further notice, I believe that General Patton was a centurion, in the ancient world who stabbed the Messiah, because it says it in his poem. It says, through the travail of ages, as he was saying, in the form of many people and all panoplies of time, I have seen the luring vision of a victory made sublime. I have battled for fresh mammoth. I have warred on this to prove that he's an Edomite. He was a caveman. It says, I have warred for pastures new. I have listened to the whispers. Let me see. Yes, it says, still more clearly as a Roman, can I see the legion close? It's because he believed that he was fighting as a Roman in Tyre. So he's reaching for the walls of Tyre. So this person, Cyrus met. So he pretty much has that resonated spirit. That he has that claim that he was this great general in these past lives. I'm not gonna lie. General Patton. If you looked at his war tactics, he was a great war tactic. That's Esau for you. He was a tanker too. But in this poem, he says something that's pretty much it's striking eerie, pretty much. Because right there in this part it says, perhaps I stabbed our Savior in his sacred helpless side. So as we all know, when Yahushua was crucified, he was pierced and stabbed by the Roman centurions. And like I said, 1 Corinthians 14:32, and the spirit of the prophets are subject to the prophets. It's the same thing for those Israelites who were talking to Pontius Pilate, who were saying, put his blood upon us and our children. So those spirit of the people who have their blood of Yahweh Shai and on their children, they're back here in the forefront, and they're all the 2/3 of the nation of Israel. Because doing something like that, you don't want to have that memory in your mind that you pretty much put the blood of the Messiah's blood on you and your children. The same thing is, you don't want to be that guy, that centurion who was stabbing the Messiah. And this is why, because in the book of Revelation, he pretty much speaks about Yahweh's return and how pretty much he's going to, pretty much judge those spirits who are subject unto judgment. All right, so this is Revelation 1:7. It says, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. And right now, as of right now, until further proven otherwise, General Patton is that centurion who stabbed the Messiah. I don't see anybody else having this claim right here. So you could say, it's probably talking about General Patton, but like I said, at the end of the day, we don't know who was who in the reincarnation, but obviously that was somebody. So if I'm off the mark and it wasn't General Patton, he's still talking about that person, that centurion who stabbed our Messiah, Yahweh Shai, in the rib. So it says, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so, amen. And so there's another thing about reincarnation is those same spirits who were back there when Yahweh Shai was crucified, they're going to see him, and then the centurions mainly who pierced him. A lot of people were throwing stuff at him, spitting at him, throwing gall at him. It says, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so, amen. Because when he returns, those same spirits are gonna recollect those things that they were doing in their past lives. because Yahweh Shai pretty much is stating that the ones that also pierced him, are going to wail because of his return. The people who pierced him, they ain't no centurion who's 4,000 years old or whatever. Whoever those centurions were, and like I said, I personally believe it's General Patton. Lived and died and lived and died and lived and died and lived again. Waiting for the Messiah's return, so that this pretty much this precept can come to fruition, so they can be manifest. All right, and so the last precept I have here is 2 Ezra 9 and 12. It says, "The same must know it after death by pain." This is one of those reincarnation precepts, but it also proves that there's not really a heaven or hell. Because these people are going to know their sins and iniquities after death by pain. Because when the Messiah comes back, when Yahweh Shai comes back, he's going to pretty much deal with business. Get back at those people who put him on the cross, who stabbed him. And like I said, if it's not Patton, it's definitely somebody who's guilty of stabbing the Messiah in the rib, just like it says in Revelation 1 and 7. So that's the end of this video. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash, and Shalom Akim.